My name is Adrian Morales, and what I'm about to tell you still feels like a classified file I was never meant to read. It happened on a rainy Thursday night, the kind of rain that sounds like static on a dead radio channel. I had just gotten home from work when someone knocked on our front door. Not tapped, knocked, hard, like someone with urgent business. When I opened it, a tall, gray-haired man stood on our porch, soaked but steady. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. "Adrian?" he asked, voice low. I nodded cautiously. Then he said the words that detonated my entire life. "I'm your father." Behind me, my mother gasped. A short, quiet sound I'd only ever heard once before, the day we buried my grandmother. But this time, it wasn't brief in her voice. It was fear. Real, bone-deep fear. And that's when I knew this stranger wasn't lying. He was a truth my mother never wanted me to find. To understand the collapse, you need to understand the foundation. I was raised by my mother, Adrian Morales, a private woman who believed silence was a form of armor. She raised me alone in a modest two-bedroom apartment in East San Antonio. She worked two jobs, school custodian by day, hotel laundry by night. We didn't have much, but she made sure I always had books, clean clothes, and hot food. Whenever I asked about my dad, she'd give the same answer. "He left before you were born, not worth discussing." Never angry, never emotional, just closed. Growing up, I filled the silence with my own theories. Maybe he died. Maybe he was in prison. Maybe he was ashamed. But Mom shut every door I tried opening. And because I loved her, I eventually stopped asking. I didn't realize then that refusing to talk about something wasn't protection. It was concealment. Culturally, our family didn't talk about shame. In our world, secrets were heirlooms. We passed them down while pretending they didn't exist. My mother had always been overly cautious about certain things. She hated when I walked alone at night. She flinched at the mention of Mexico City, where she'd emigrated from. And she never kept photos of herself younger than 25. Whenever I found old paperwork, immigration forms, job certificates, or medical bills, the earliest date was always when she was already pregnant with me. It was as if she had erased her own life. Now here was this man, this stranger, claiming to be the missing half of my DNA. And Mom looked like she'd seen a ghost dredged from a river she hoped had dried up. Everything in me wanted to believe he was lying, but everything in her face told me he wasn't. His name was Ricardo Pena. He asked to come inside, but my mother blocked the doorway. "You need to leave right now." Her voice wavered. I never heard it waver. Ricardo stayed firm. "Elena, I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just want to talk. Our son deserves to know the truth." Our son. My throat tightened. No one had ever called me that. Mom looked at me, not in pleading, but in warning. "Adrian, go to your room." I didn't move. For the first time in my life, I saw my mother not as the unshakable woman who raised me, but as someone cornered. "What truth?" I demanded. Mom didn't answer. Ricardo did. The truth about why she ran. Mom spun on him. "Shut your mouth!" But the damage was done. He laughed after Mom threatened to call the police, but he slipped a card into my hand. "I'll be in town for a few days. If you want answers, real answers, call me." Mom snatched the card the instant the door closed, tore it into perfect little squares, and dumped the pieces into the trash like she'd rehearsed it. Then she said something strange. "People like him don't change. They just find new ways to ruin you." I tried to forget him, but Mom was different afterward. Distracted, checking the windows, jumping at small noises.
One night, I overheard her whispering on the phone in Spanish. "No, he found us. Yes, after all these years. No, I won't let it happen again." When she realized I was awake, she ended the call and composed herself. It was the first time I realized my mother could lie effortlessly. A week later, I reached my breaking point. While she was at work, I searched her closet, something I'd never done. I found a locked metal cash box hidden behind old sweaters. I pried it open with a screwdriver. Inside were a Mexican birth certificate, with the father's name listed as Ricardo Peña, a restraining order filed against him before I was born, a passport issued under a different last name, 2 photo negatives so old they were the color of tea. I held them up to the lamp. One was a young woman, my mother, smiling beside a man who unmistakably looked like Ricardo. The other was Mom with a swollen eye. My stomach twisted. When Mom got home, I didn't ease into it. "What happened between you and Ricardo?" Her shoulders sagged, like she'd been carrying a weight for decades and finally dropped it. "I didn't run because he left me. I ran because he wouldn't let me leave." She told me he'd been charming at first, ambitious, magnetic, but underneath was someone controlling, jealous, and unpredictable. "He hit me once," she said. "Then he apologized for a month. Then he hit me again. The cycle never ended." I felt sick. "Why didn't you tell me?" She wiped a tear with her sleeve. "Because I wanted you to love yourself without thinking you inherited anything from him." I almost believed her. Almost. Until she added one final line. "And you never need to meet him. Everything he says is a lie." Except the documents I found weren't lies. 2 days later, he knocked again. This time, Mom didn't open the door. But I did. She shouted my name, a sound laced with terror, but I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Ricardo looked tired, older than before. "I know what she told you," he said softly, "but she left out half of it." My heart pounded. "Then tell me the whole story." "What happened to her eye in those photos?" I demanded. He nodded. "Yes, I hit her once, and she hit me once, too." "Don't compare." "I'm not. I'm saying we were toxic, both of us. I was young, stupid, jealous, all the worst parts of a man. And when she got pregnant, I tried to fix everything. She didn't want to stay. She wanted to disappear." He pulled out a folded police report. "She told the authorities I kidnapped her. She said she feared for her life. I was arrested, but the charges were dropped because none of her claims matched the evidence." "And the restraining order?" He sighed. "Filed during a fight because she wanted full control of you. I tried to appeal, but she was gone before the court date. Gone without a trace. I spent 22 years looking for you." I stared at him, at the sincerity in his eyes, and felt a war tearing inside me. Were they both lying? Both telling half-truths? Both hiding their sins inside carefully curated narratives? A week later, Mom's older brother, Tio Javier, flew in from Guadalajara, a man I'd only met once. He arrived unannounced, suitcase in hand, tense. Mom's face went pale. "You called Javier?" I asked. She shook her head quickly, too quickly. "Javier pulled me aside that night. Your mother believes Ricardo is dangerous, but she hasn't told you why." I waited. He hesitated. Because it's not only what he did, it's what she did. Those words rattled me. What do you mean? He closed his eyes like he regretted speaking. Ask her about the night she left Mexico. I confronted her again, this time refusing to let her dodge, deflect, or collapse into silence. Tell me what happened the night you left Mexico. She froze. Then she whispered something so quietly I wasn't sure I heard it. I'm the reason Ricardo went to prison. My blood ran cold. What? She sank under the couch, trembling. I told the police he tried to kill me. I told them he pushed me down the stairs. But Adrian, I fell. I was the one who slipped. I stared at her, horrified. Why would you lie about that? Because I was pregnant and scared and young and had no one. My parents were gone, my siblings were broke. I couldn't raise you with a man who drank and screamed and punched walls. So I made sure he couldn't fight for custody. You ruined his life. She nodded, tears streaming. Yes, I did what I had to do to save yours. In that moment, something broke inside me, a pane of glass cracking in slow motion. I couldn't stay in that house. Not another minute. I grabbed my keys and left. For the first time in my life, I understood that both of my parents had failed me, just in different ways.
My revenge wasn't going to be dramatic or violent. It was going to be truth, controlled and revealed with surgical precision. I met with Ricardo privately at a cafe. He brought official records, his arrest report, testimonies from neighbors, medical evaluations from that night, court transcripts. Every document contradicted my mother's claims. The truth was clear. She hadn't escaped a monster. She had created one out of fear, and the system had believed her. I felt pain, guilt, anger, but also responsibility. If a lie had destroyed part of his life, a truth could rebuild part of it. I contacted a legal aid organization specializing in wrongful accusations. They reviewed Ricardo's case and immediately launched a petition to correct the historical record. Statements were gathered, evidence re-examined. My mother was asked to provide clarification. She refused, but the truth didn't need her approval. I organized a meeting, neutral ground, with my mother, my uncle, Ricardo, a family mediator, and myself. Mom walked in tense, already defensive. Ricardo didn't yell, didn't accuse, didn't demand apologies. He simply said, "Elena, we both made mistakes, but you didn't need to erase me to protect yourself." Then he turned to me. "Son, I don't want your mother punished. I just want my name back." My mother broke. Years of fear, shame, guilt, all of it spilling out. She apologized, barely able to speak, not excusing herself, but finally reckoning with the truth. For the first time, I saw her not as my mother, but as a woman who had been afraid her entire life. Revenge wasn't destruction. It was correction. I helped Ricardo restore his record, regain professional licenses he lost, reconnect with his estranged family, rebuild the reputation taken from him. And the final step? I changed my last name, legally, to Morales Peña. Not because I chose him over my mother, but because I chose truth over silence. My mother cried for hours when she found out, but she didn't fight it. For the first time, she accepted consequences. I didn't move in with Ricardo. I didn't cut my mother off. Instead, I set boundaries, firm, healthy ones. For the first time, I lived as my own person, not the product of someone else's fear. And slowly, painfully, my relationship with both of them transformed into something honest, something real. When people ask me how it felt to discover my father at 23, I tell them this: the truth doesn't always set you free, but it does remove the walls you never realized were built around you. My mother taught me survival. My father taught me accountability. Both imperfect, both flawed, both human. Revenge, I learned, isn't always about breaking someone. Sometimes it's about restoring what was broken. And sometimes the sweetest revenge